There are some people who will claim, and these are generally people on the left, who will claim that cancel culture doesn't exist, that it's a figment of the imagination of right wing provocateurs. There's even libertarians who will claim that it's not cancel culture, it's accountability culture. And then there are some libertarians who will say, yeah, well, it's just the free market at work. And here's what I say. Well, just because the free market is at work doesn't necessarily mean it isn't cancel culture. And for the left leaning people who will claim that it doesn't exist, I think you can look around and see clearly there are people who will try to blacklist people based on various things. But it's the reason why I should use the reason why I'm using this word blacklist is because that lets you know it's not just something new, but a lot of people on the right are claiming that cancel culture is something new and that they are the sole targets of cancel culture. That's where the lie is. See, it's not about just saying everything either everything you say is true or everything you say is a lie, but what today's charlatans and con men are doing is they're sprinkling a little bit of truth amidst a bunch of lies. And so yeah, there is truth that there are people on the left who will determine that you don't have the correct ideology, you're not pushing the correct values, and they will cancel you. That's not new. The difference is who used to be pushing it, who used to be establishing what the proper values were. Because you can go back to 86 and see, was it 86? It might be in 89, 1989, when Madonna came out with Like a Prayer. And when Madonna came out with Like a Prayer, she actually did a Pepsi commercial. And there were conservative individuals who were, in fact, conservative groups, not just conservative individuals. It was conservative groups that came hard for Madonna because they felt her song was sacrilegious and it needed to be canceled. And they did. They pulled it. In fact, I think they actually pulled her contract and stopped working with her for the ad campaign that they had been working on and had agreed to. But it was conservatives who set that standard. Now it is conservatives who are the targets of cancel culture because they no longer have the power that they once did. They no longer have the complete sway and control over media that they once did. And they're pissed about it. But hey, I mean, so you may be saying, okay, no, that was different. It's what you're talking about was different. It was just that was just protecting kids and stuff like that. Now, mind you, people today are still saying the same thing. So people on the left will say, "Oh, the values that the right people on the right are advocating are harmful to kids." So they'll say, "Let's cancel somebody because they don't recognize gender. They have these rigid views on gender." Now, people on the right will say, "No, that's ridiculous," but people on the left say, "No, these are the values that we want promoted, and if you're not promoting these values, if you're not uh, uh, agreeing with these values, you are a danger. You're a danger to society. You're a bigot. You're transphobic. your your behavior puts children and young people and marginalized people at risk. But you're going to say to me, no, it's completely different. Okay, let's look at today. Let's look at the modern day. We don't need to go back to 1989. I mean, because even today, people will complain about Georgina Carano's. And yeah, I get it. Yes, she didn't need to be fired, but they chose to. And hey, as a libertarian, hey, the free market does the free market gets to choose who they do and don't promote. But right now, Laura Ingraham is amongst the people on the right who will. In fact, today she had Alan Dershowitz on, and they're talking about how cancel culture is becoming American culture. I disagree. I think it's been American culture for a long time. But if you are on the right, then you're most likely trust her more than me. Cool. Okay. It is interesting though that she actually has spoken about people on the left being canceled, and that lets you know that okay, it's not just people on the right that are targeted. Here's my theory on that. My theory is cancel culture isn't actually about the values as we're talking about now. As we're talking now, these are pretexts that people are using. These are pretexts that people are using to eliminate their enemies. But in some cases, that I think that's accurate. In some cases, it may actually be people believe in certain values and they want to target certain people because they do not agree with their values. But the greatest point that I have to make about this is that just last week we had a couple of incidences happen. A couple of incidents. We had the conviction of Derek Chauvin, which resulted in a lot of people celebrating. And then we had, and then before even people could really celebrate, Ma'Khia Bryant was killed. She was shot and killed by a police officer. And a lot of people are upset about that. One of those people is LeBron James, who said, "You're next." Hashtag accountability with the cop's picture. Some people think that LeBron made a threat. And okay, so let's say he made a threat. Was it a threat of violence? You're next. Oh yeah, you're talking about he wants people to kill him to come after the cop. Okay, so who was first? If you're next was a threat of violence, who was first? Who was the previous cop that was targeted for violence, and now LeBron is moving the bullseye to this cop? Who's first? Who's right before this? See, that's the point. If you ask that question, you'll know. Okay, come on, stop it. He was talking about your next. To, he was basically calling for the guy to be tried and convicted. But circumstances are different, and that's another story. I've talked about it several times on this channel. But what's interesting is the reaction. So amongst the reactions to this was Kevin Sorbo asking, how does LeBron James still have sponsors? And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought the right was against cancel culture, because now we're not talking about 1989. We're talking about 2021. We're talking about April 25th, 2021. And here you have a prominent figure on the right calling for LeBron to have all his sponsors pulled. Like, I thought your claim, I did not think y'all were against cancel culture. I knew you weren't. But it's amazing how quick people on the right who claim to be against cancel culture embrace it, advocate it, use it, promote it, like just like that. Whenever something happens that they don't like, somebody doesn't stand for the national anthem, cancel them. Like, if you actually want to cancel culture, you've got to have thicker skin. Everybody's not going to agree with you. Cool, deal with it. Like, grow up. That's adulthood. But Kevin Sorbo's not the only one, because you have Laura Ingraham, who has been, talking to Dershowitz, and she's been railing against cancel culture for a while, but she shares, and though this isn't something she's done, it's not necessarily something she's actively and promoting on her own, but she's sharing it. She's not giving any pushback on it, about this bar in Ohio, which is banning NBA games until LeBron is thrown out of the league. Okay, so now you're promoting this. Are you trying to get LeBron James fired? Because it seems like that. It seems like you are promoting and advocating for cancel culture. Stop it. Stop it. If you hate cancel culture, stop using it. As always, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Like, share, subscribe. If you don't like what I've said, you can give me a thumbs down. But if you give me a thumbs down, don't forget to leave a comment why, so I can either address it in the comment section or in a future video. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.